Welcome back, everyone. We are thinking of nature as we go into our next sketchbook. I'm going to do a zoomed up image of a pine cone, and I got one right with me. Remember, you always should have the actual object, or at least a picture of it, as you work. And you want to try to start relatively large. I am going to do my pine cone at a little bit of an angle, just to give it a slight more visual interest. Sketching very lightly to start off and just blocking in those basic shapes. When we think of nature, you can do a zoomed in image like I am now, or something different, but a lot of times as you work, especially if it's a specific object, nature seems to repeat itself. So we got a lot of the very similar shapes as we work. Constantly looking back and forth to the object, seeing where the different things fall and lie. Because even though they look similar, they do have different angles and aspects that make them unique. So you want to try to capture that. The more details you have, the more visually interesting your drawing will be. I got a lot of the same going on, so we're going to speed up a bit. Still working very lightly, getting your basic shapes down. As I'm working, I'm hopping around the page still, not getting too tied up in one specific area. And I'm going to start blocking in shadows. Now these are just very generalized. I don't got my blending stump out, and I'm not softening up my lines very much right now. Just getting in some of those really dark spots that I know are going to be there. Having your values in, especially those really dark spots next to your lighter areas, that contrast is going to make your object pop, regardless of whether it's a pine cone or anything else. The shadows are kind of harsh right now, but I'll go in and soften them up later, so I'm not going to worry about it. Still blocking in my object. Remember, as you work, you can hold your pencil in a variety of different ways. You just have to figure out what works best for you as you draw. It's always good to have smaller aspects and the layered parts depending on what you're drawing, but having that's going to help establish depth and that it is a three-dimensional object. So having things behind and in front. And the pine cone is circular, so some of the ones on the side are going to be a little smaller. And of course, closer to the middle will be darker. For me, since I'm drawing a pine cone, you can draw all sorts of different things. This is just an example. Don't be afraid to edit as you go. If you make a mistake, that's the reason you draw lightly, so you can always erase. Alright, at this point, I can go back in, soften up some of my lines. Remember, as you use a blending stump, it's going to take away some of your darks, so I'll probably have to go back in and re-establish my really dark values. But those blending tools are a great way to soften up some of your lines and make things look a little bit more realistic. Some people, when they're using these, do have a tendency to blend everything, and you don't want to do that because then you're going to lose some highlights. So if you're one of those people who blends everything, you might want to go back and erase some spots where the light hits your object more. You need the light spots just like the darks. My object got a little bit gray, my pine cone did, so I gotta put in some darker values, and that's gonna help make it pop. It's also gonna help establish the different little juts in the pine cone and showcase that each one is an individual. Still looking constantly at my object, not ignoring it. You can see it, well, at least half of it on the page as I'm working. And you can slowly see as I'm filling in my darker values and having my light highlights pop, you can slowly see my pine cone come into life. I think I'm going to add a couple little more small ones here at the bottom. And I'm pretty close to finished. You can always edit. The more time you spend on something, the better it's going to be. Gonna go back in a little bit. Want darker value under there. think this might be my last one I'm gonna add. Just touch up a few different spots. And I could go in and erase some, but I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good about this right now. Maybe a couple highlights. Remember, the more detailed you are, the more lifelike it's going to seem. And we got ourselves a pine cone. Thanks for watching.